Hello. Chetan sir, may I audible?
येस सर, येस सर.
Okay.
आणि सर पण आलेले आहेत, त्यांना मी को होस्ट केलेला आहे.
Okay.
ओके.
डॉक्टर आडे सर.
हा बोला. आवाज येतो का?
येस सर, येस सर. आवाज येतो सर आपला.
ओके ओके.
तर आपण स्टार्ट करूयात सर.
येस सर.
Okay. So dear participants, good afternoon all. Today, Department of Botany, Swami Vivekananda Senior College, Manta, has organized invited talk to commemorate research work and contribution done by a great scientist, Gregor Johann Mendel, the father of genetics, who carried out his breeding experiments on pea plant. For this, today we have very special guest as a resource person, Professor Dr. Avinash B. Adesar, Head Department of Botany, Savitribai Phule, Pune University, Pune. It's a humble attempt of Department of Botany, Swami Vivekananda Senior College, Manta, to bring forth the great work of Gregor Mendel in front of the student in this lockdown period. Now, I will introduce Professor Adesar. Professor Avinash B. Adesar, presently working as Head Department of Botany, Savitribai Phule, Pune University, Pune. His teaching and research experience are 22 years. More than 50 research papers have been published in various national as well as international journals. Sir has authored 6 books. Sir has participated and presented his research work in more than 76 state, national, international conferences, seminar, and that included 13 invited talks also. Under Sir's able guidance, 11 students have successfully completed their PhD degree and 6 students are working under his able guidance. 5 students successfully completed MPhil degree also. Recently, his research work on polythene degrading fungi, that particular research work attracted the attention of national electronic as well as print media also. Dear participants, with this brief introduction, now I invite Professor Dr. Avinash Adesar to deliver a talk on topic pre-Mendelian, Mendelian and post-Mendelian genetics. Over to Professor Dr. Avinash Adesar, please.
What is the time?
Sir, 1 hour.
1 hour, okay.
Yes.
So dear friends, it is my great pleasure to be interacted with you on this electronic medium, and we are commemorating a great personality from the genetics, father of genetics, that is Gregor John Mendel. Before his, what was the situation of genetics, and after him, what were the advancement in the field of genetics, that we have to discuss today. So Gregor John Mendel is very big personality, and it is not possible to describe his entire life, but we can at least share certain highlights about this life. So we'll go through these slides. Right. So Gregor John Mendel was born on 22nd July 1822 at Moravia. Now it is in the Czech Republic. He was an Austrian monk, and he has basically started his work for the religion. Later on, the religion man is turned into scientist, and he has having the amalgamation of say, statistics and the botany together, and a statistician turned into the life scientist, and now his principles are accepted all over the world in the form of laws of Mendelian inheritance or laws of inheritance proposed by Mendel. So because of these efforts taken by this Mendel, he has recognized as a father of genetics. And Mendel's work, it is a mystery of the Mendel's work. The Mendel work was hidden till the beginning of 20th century, although he has discovered all these laws, but his work was hidden, and it was kept aside by the scientific community. But after 100 years, the rediscovery of this work was possible, and after that we come to the conclusion that Mendel was a really great scientist, and he has done very pioneer things in the form of genetics for we people, and hence later on this was Mendel was recognized as father of genetics. So on this birth anniversary, the commemoration lecture of this Mendel, I pay great tribute to his finding, and let us begin with the topic. So pre and post Mendelian theories, if we try to see, then we have to categorize. So pre-Mendelian, that was free from any concept of say genes or the factors, Mendelian factors, and these can be enlisted. These are very few theories. These were having pre-Mendelian ideas. So these are enlisted like this: pre-formation theory, the theory of epigenesis, the theory of acquired characters, the theory of pangenesis, and germplasm theory. While the post-Mendelian theories, there are number of theories. For example, incomplete dominance, codominance, multiple alleles, linkage, lethal genes, genes interactions, pleiotropic genes effects, polygenic effect, environmental effect, and finally the cytoplasmic or material effect. Even after that, the theories as well as practical evidences got continued, and nowadays we are facing the recombinant DNA technology and the GMOs and all that, and still the continuation of this genetic discovery is going on. So with this great extent we have reached now, and of course the credit is to be given to the Gregor John Mendel, the father of genetics. So let us go through these theories one by one, and let us understand what is the journey from the pre-Mendelian era and post-Mendelian era. So let us start one by one. The pre-formation theory, that was proposed by a Dutch biologist, that is Swammerdam and Bonnet. This theory states that a miniature human being that is located in the sperm cell or the egg cell, and that is called as homunculus. So this miniature human being that was shown tried to accommodate in this miniature structure, but the sperm or the egg that is expected to be contain all the genetic information, all the structural or functional information of the human being, and in view of the artist, this type of drawing was drawn. So such theory was immediately rejected because it was just prediction and scientifically it was not proved. Then there was a theory of epigenesis. The German biologist Wolff has proposed this theory, and according to his theory that the egg and sperms are undifferentiated cells. We know the potential of undifferentiated cell. Undifferentiated cell, if they go for differentiation, then gradually there will be formation of the morphogenetic characters, and accordingly the whole entire organism can be created. So by taking this particular principle into consideration, they have given an idea of the undifferentiated cells, and these were designated as egg and sperms. So egg and sperms, basically today if we see, these are the gametes and they are having half number of the chromosomes. But at that particular time, these were considered as undifferentiated cells, and these were considered as responsible for developing the organs of the body or parts after fertilization in the zygote. So this concept was universally accepted. It was somewhat scientific as compared to the earlier one, and that's why the people's thinking was began into that direction, and further discoveries were made. Then very famous theory of Lamarck, that is known as Lamarckism. So French biologist Lamarck has proposed this theory, and this is the theory of acquired characters. So whenever a particular organism wants to have a particular organ to be extended, or if there is a elongation just like neck of this giraffe, then as per the requirement, the extension of this organ or modification of this organ is there, and afterward this will be adapting as a permanent character of that. So such theory was proposed by Lamarck, and once the character is adapted, then this become the permanent, you can say, the character of that particular organism, and hence that is said to be the theory of evolution. So giraffe was trying to browse on the short plants. Later on, as the plant was grown higher and leaf fronds was available at the top, and that's why giraffe tried to extend its neck towards it, and because of that the neck length was increased, and that increased character was adapted by that, and that became the permanent character of giraffe. So such theory of Lamarckism that was described later on. Then theory of pangenesis, that is proposed by Charles Darwin in 1809-1882, which states that very small, exact, but invisible copies of each body organ and component, these were called as gemmules. These are transported by the bloodstream to the sex organs, and the gemmules are assembled in the gametes, and after fertilization the gemmules move out to the different parts of the body, and the formation of entire body occurs. So here it is just like a biochemical phenomenon. So a crystal of a sodium chloride or a crystal of sugar, when we try to dissolve into the water, the disappearance of the crystal will occur. And later on, when we go for the crystallization process by following the evaporation of water, then reappearance of this crystal will take place. So this particular phenomenon, chemical phenomenon, exactly fits to this particular theory of pangenesis. So this was the theory proposed by Darwin. Then germplasm theory was existed, which is advocated by August Weismann in 1889, who was a German biologist. So he explained that the body tissues are of two types, that is germplasm and somatoplasm. And the germplasm refers to the reproductive tissues, while somatoplasm, they are the body tissues, and reproductive tissues produces the gametes. So somatoplasm includes all other body tissues which are not related to the sexual reproduction, and gametes, they are going to take part for the reproduction, and hence these are gathered together in the germplasm, and when the germplasm is transmitted from one generation to another generation, so all this information which is related with the soma or somatic information, that is getting miniaturized here, or that is getting reduced here, amalgamated here, and that is getting transferred to the next generation, which will produce the somatic, you can say, body. So this is known as germplasm theory. So this germplasm is responsible for producing the generation, producing the individual, and from generation to generation, the offsprings are produced, and hence this is the carrier. So that's why it is known as germplasm. So because of this name, the germplasm theory was the uh, name of the theory proposed by Weizmann. Then Mendel's observations were made. He was working in the monastery, and just out of interest, he experimented on the plants, pea plants. So Pisum sativum, that was appropriate species selected by the Mendel, and he observed certain characters in that. So for example, seed shape, he found that there are round and wrinkled shapes, color yellow and green, pod shape full and constricted, pod color again green and yellow, flower color here violet and white, flower position axial and terminal, and stem height tall and dwarf. So these 7 characters were selected by him, and then he had done the experiment of crossing. So crossing is a typical plant reproduction phenomenon where there is a dusting of pollen grain from the male plant and transfer it to the female plant when the plants are dioecious in nature. But in case of monoecious, the male flower and female flowers that may be used, or in case of this, the emasculation is possible, and removal of the uh, male reproductive organs from the bisexual flower, that will be there, and instead of that, the dusting of pollen grain from some other flower where there is not emasculation, and that is brought about for the uh, entity of male gamete to this particular female flower or emasculated flower, and crossing will be made. So by doing this activity, he come to the conclusion that uh, there was the formation of F1 progeny like this, and F1 progeny that was showing all round, all yellow. This was in the ratio in F1, all dominant character it was obtained. So here round, yellow, then full, green, violet, axial, and all tall. So such type of dominant characters were appear in F1 generation, and then this F1 progeny were self later on. So after selfing, the ratio was obtained. Here the F2 ratio was obtained in 2.96 to 1, 3.01 to 1, here 2.95 to 1, 2.82 to 1, 3.15 to 1, here 3.14 is to 1, 2.84 is to 1. So what it indicates that F2 ratio, more or less, if you try to compare, then we come to the conclusion that the ratio of this is 3:1. So with this ratio, the expected, you can say, transmission of these characters that was possible by Mendelian experiment. Later on, the concept of allele was developed. So allele is nothing but the alternative forms of the genes. So here in left side diagram, if we see, the chromosomes are homologous, and on these chromosomes at one particular locus there are two alternative forms of the genes. So these alternative forms of genes pertaining to a particular character, contrasting character as proposed by Mendel, that is said to be allele. So if the capital T is there and that is used for dominant allele, the small t will be its recessive counterparts. Why these two chromosomes are taken here as a for the explanation of allelic pattern? Because most of the organisms, or almost all the organisms, they are diploid in nature, higher organisms for example, and P was diploid in that case. So such type of alleles, they are there, and they are giving us an idea if there is an expression of the capital T, then the related RNA and proteins will be formed. And if there is a small t don't have the expression. So although it is having certain expression, but these expression are not visible in presence of capital T. So that's why capital T was called as dominant allele, while small t was called as recessive allele. So in Mendelian inheritance, the dominant allele that were all showing their expression in F1 generation. And for the expression of recessive allele, he used to carry out the F2 generation. So that's why the allelic pair that was doing this dominant and recessive expression, and here in box we can see capital A combination if it is there, then capital double A is formed, then capital A small a if it is there, then this AA combination is there, then small a if it is there, then small a, this combination will be there. So this is called as a recessive, and this recessive character is having absence of any dominant gene. So this dominant allele, that is overmasking the effect of recessive allele. So in this way, the Mendel has given an idea, and this was explained in terms of allele. So later on, he has proposed the laws of inheritance. So here the first law, that is law of dominance, he has proposed before the prediction of first law. So here law of dominance states that if the character is governed by the dominant alleles here, and if that allelic pair is showing that particular character, then some character which are expressed in F1 generation, if they are exactly matching, then it means that there may be the possibility to have the homozygous dominant allele or heterozygous dominant allele. But when the characters are altered, for example, this fruit color is getting altered from red to yellow, then this will be the absence of this dominant allele, and a recessive allele will be reported. So overmasking effect of this dominant allele was removed, and hence there is expression of this recessive allele. So that's why in absence of any dominant allele, recessive allele will show its expression as small a, and the character that is entirely different. So by this observation, he could formulate the law of dominance, and later on, the first law was constituted. So that is known as law of segregation. So law of segregation means what? The characters which are present, these characters later on transmitted to the F1 generation or F2 generation, and hence the you can say appearance of characters will see in the F2 generation in the ratio of 3:1. So here, if this red color is dominant over white, then all F1 individual that will be red in color, and if this further self and multiplied, then this will be continued its transmission, and this continuation occurs in 3:1 ratio. So three red color and one white color flower will be obtained. So here, from parent to the F1 generation, and from F1 generation it is getting transferred to the F2 generation, and as the generation number is increased, this character is getting transferred to the next generation, and so on. So such type of transmission of character is there. So that is said to be a segregation. So segregation throughout the generation, that is known as law of segregation, or the first law of Mendel. Then Mendel's second law, here the second law is called as law of independent assortment. So here independent assortment means what? The two characters are already reported, they are governing already the character, two characters, they are governed by different combinations, and hence two characters are simultaneously maintained. So here, for example, shape and color, if you are maintaining simultaneously, then shape never mixed with the color, and shape is retaining, color is also retaining its characteristic features, and hence the shape is uh, segregated independently, and color is segregated independently, and hence the segregation of these respective alleles, they are independently and they never mix, they never influence, and hence this is known as independent assortment. So Mendel's second law was regarding the independent assortment. So with these Mendelian laws, if we see the basic of the genetics that was formulated, and later on people have concentrated on that after 100 years of the discovery of Mendel, and later on people have started their work, and people they got quite different results even after Mendelism, and this difference that is called as post-Mendelian genetics. So these theories were also remarkable, and they are leading the foundation of the future genetics. So what are those theories? Let us understand. So incomplete dominance is the theory. So here Mendel always observed the complete dominance, but in this case the incomplete dominance was there. So instead of having the character of say red color or this yellow color of this say uh, dominant or recessive allele, instead of that the combination of this will be there, and quite brown color flower was developed. So brown color is a blend of red color and yellow color. So this blend was not following the coloration of A, or this was not following the coloration of this A, yellow color A. So here for the convenience, AR is the allele which is taken, and here AY alleles are taken. AR represents the red color, AY represents the yellow color, and entire uh, phenotype of that is getting changed because of the mixing of this particular character. So R, that is red, and yellow, that is turning, that mix together, and that forms the brown color. So such type of mixing the color in half manner. So there is no complete dominance. There is no appearance of the dominant characters. Instead of that, the intermediate characters are appeared, and these intermediate characters, they are showing incomplete dominance. So incomplete dominance was proposed later on, and this was reported in the 4 o'clock plant, that is Mirabilis jalapa. And here the red, pink, and white, such type of combination of colors were reported. So this is an example of say incomplete dominance. Then coming to the codominance. So here the codominance was explained by the blood group system of human being. So we have ABO blood group, and for each of these, the specific combination of alleles that is responsible. So A and B, these alleles are basically the characters which are governing the antigens. So suppose antigen A is there, then antibody B is there in the plasma. So antigen is the surface protein which is present on red blood cells, while antibodies are there in the plasma. So suppose there is an antigen A, the plasma is having antibody B, and therefore agglutination is not carried out, or clotting of the blood is not carried out. While in case of blood group B, the antigen is of B type, and antibodies are of A type, they are there in the plasma, and because of this incompatibility, the uh, agglutination is not carried out. In case of AB blood group, the antigens A and B, they are present on the surface of the red blood cells, while there are no antibodies in the plasma of that particular blood. And in the group O, there are no antigens in the red blood cells, while here the both the type of antibodies, that is antibody A and antibody B, they are existed in the plasma. So such antigen A and antigen B, that is forming the A and B blood group. At the same time, in heterozygous condition, if there is a combination of A and O and B and O, then there will be also the A and B blood group. If AB is there, then there is a mixing of A and B, and if O is there, then all of them, they are getting absent. So such type of combination that was possible, and here the A allele and B allele both are dominant, and therefore they are producing the AB type of you can say antigen, and hence this particular phenomenon is called as codominance. So both of these allele, if these are dominant in AB system, then this will be an example of codominance. So this was the codominance example proposed. Later on, the concept of multiple allele that was discovered. So multiple allele means here more than one allele, more than two alleles, they are responsible for the blood group formation. So here ABA blood group, ABO blood group system, if you try to see, then IgA, IgB, then small I, these three type of alleles are responsible. So A, B, and small I, these three alleles are there. Out of that, the A and B are dominant, while small I is recessive. And because of that, instead of having routine two alleles, there are three alleles, and hence this is known as multiple alleles. So the blood group system is again showing multiple allelic example. So for one particular gene, what is the gene? Here the blood group. So for this particular gene, the multiple alleles are there. So one allele is IgA, another is IgB, and another is small I. So with these alleles also the expression of the gene is possible, and these multiple alleles, they are governing certain characters or combination of characters, and hence phenotypic expression we come to know. Then there was a concept of linkage. So Bateson and Punnett has discovered this phenomenon, and later on Hutchinson in maize and Morgan in Drosophila, they have observed the same tendency. So genes, although they are present on one particular arm of the chromosome, but at the same time this may be linked with some other genes, and this is called as a linkage group. So such linkage group is the set of genes, and these set of genes, they are very close to each other, but they are not on the same loci. So loci are different, their positions are different, but they are attached with each other. So that's why when one gene is transferred, the other two genes are also transferred, or its linked genes are also transferred. So that's why there is a term that was known as linkage group. So this linkage group was transferred, and this transfer is possible during crossing over. So whenever the recombination is there, how many type of recombination, what is the frequency of recombination is there, and how do they influence with each other as per the recombination. So that is the idea behind the linkage map. So for this linkage map, very first thing is essential, that is the linkage group should be there, and these are said to be a linked genes. So linkage phenomenon was discovered later on. Then there are lethal genes also. So here, if due to the combination of genes, if there is a dead of say particular organism, then these are said to be a lethal genes. For example, agouti coat color in this particular mouse, and yellow coat color in this mouse, if they are independently behaving, then this will be you can say in live condition. But if none of these is present, then this will be if homozygous recessive, if it is there, then this combination of genes will be responsible for the death of that particular organism, and hence these are said to be a lethal gene. So such lethal genes, they are also discovered later on. Then coming to the gene interaction is the modified ratios of Mendel, that is 3:1 or 9:3:3:1. These were the ratios proposed by Mendel in case of first law and second law. But later on, due to the interaction of genes, so many possible combinations were there, and these combinations they are as per this particular chart. So AB is the alternative forms. These are responsible for two characters at a time. Then in hybrid cross, the simple interaction was reported, that is in the form of ratio 9:3:3:1. In case of dominant epistasis, the ratio was constituted 12:3:1. In case of recessive epistasis, the ratio was altered, that is 9:3:4, that is known as supplementary factor also. And then complementary factor was given 9:7. Duplicate gene was also possible, where the heterozygous conditions are again giving the same results. So they are 15:1. So this one is totally recessive. In case of polymorphic gene, the 9:6:1 is a ratio. And in case of inhibitory factors, here 13:3. So these are the ratios which got modified due to interaction of genes. So how do they interact? We know that there are certain genes which are structural, and these genes are responsible for the formation of a particular mRNA. Later on, these mRNA are going to produce the proteins, and after protein formation, there will be, you can say, expression. These genes are said to be expressed, and these proteins are developing either morphological structures or biochemical structure, and these genes are said to be expressed, and phenotypic expression we got. So such type of genes, if they are there and they are behaving independently for their respective expression, at the same time there are certain regulatory genes which have the control over the expression of these genes. So in case of modern lactose operon, if we see, there are three, the structural genes are there, and three regulatory genes are there. So these structural genes, they are influenced by the regulatory genes, and hence these regulatory genes control the expression of the structural genes. So such regulatory genes, if they are influencing the expression of structural genes, then this is nothing but the gene interaction. So such interaction is there. So such interaction was possible, and due to that interaction, the alteration of this character was there, and instead of having simply dominance and recessive gene, the mixed type of character was obtained, and hence this is known as interaction of genes. So one gene is going to interact with another, and hence the entire phenotypic characters are altered. Then pleiotropic gene effect, that is also one of the branch of the genetics. So here one gene is going to contribute for the different character. So here Mendelian experiment was carried out, and luckily he got the plant of Pisum sativum, and in that the 7 pairs of chromosomes were there. Then the understanding of his principle, that was easier, because 7 characters were considered and 7 pairs of chromosomes were considered. So by allotting each of these character to each of the pair, the understanding was quite easier. But this was not real actually, but at that level of understanding, it was estimated to be good, and from that it was taken into consideration that one chromosome governs one particular character. But this is not true. In case of this chromosome, in this case, in this diagram, a single gene is responsible, the gene beta globin, that is undergoing the mutation, and due to this mutation, sickle cell anemia is developed. So due to this sickle cell anemia or beta globin gene mutation, the pleiotropic effect of this expression could be seen on these eyes, liver, and heart. So here blindness was observed in the eyes. Then the functions of the liver, these are malformed, and here the heart was malfunctioning, and that's why heart attack was developed. So such 3 effects we could see, and that is said to be a multiple traits. So one gene is going to contribute for multiple trait, or that is governing the multiple trait. So that is said to be pleiotropic effect, and such pleiotropic effects are now we come to know frequently. Then polygenic inheritance, as we have seen the pleiotropic effect, one gene is controlling all these multiple, we can say, effects. At the same time, it is also proved that the many genes are contributing for the uh, governance of the characters, which is single one. So instead of having contribution of individual genes, instead of having single gene, many genes are contributing for the same character. So that is known as polygenic inheritance. So Nielsen ALA observed that certain characters are governed by several genes, and such genes they are showing additive effect. So for example, skin color in human being, as the genes are added, the melanin pigmentation is going to add, and that's why we find the white people, black people, or mulattoes in between, or wheat colored people likewise. So these are called as polygenic traits, or it is related with the quantity. So these are therefore known as polygenic inheritance. So this idea was again developed after Mendel. Then environmental effects on genes, that was also remarkable after that. For example, if we see this particular cartoon, that two sisters are there. One sister, these two sisters are identical twin. After shifting these sisters to two different environments, where one sister is consuming healthy food, another sister is consuming the junk food, then what was the effect? The sister which was consuming healthy food, that was retained as such, means shape of that sister was maintained as such, while the sister who was engaged in consuming the junk food, that was increased like this, and such fat was obtained. So what is the you can say effect here? This is of course done by the environment, the environmental factors, and the food material which is required for the survival of the human being, that will be serving as a environmental resource. So due to this resource, the difference in the morphology of the same sisters who are having the same genetic setup, because they are identical twins, but due to the difference in the environment, their appearance was different. So such environmental effects are also reported on the genes, and nowadays we can see that the environment is also possible to carry out the mutation. There are the physical mutagens already there in the environment. Chemical mutagens are already there in the environments, and due to this mutagenic activity, the uh, characters are altered, and hence the characters are said to be born by the environmental factors. So this is said to be the environmental effects on genes. So such characters were obtained. Then material effect of these genes, this is possible. Mendel did not observe any difference between direct and reciprocal crosses, but later on, the direct and reciprocal crosses, if analyzed, then it come to know that there are certain characters which were there in the particular cross. These were totally vanished when reciprocal cross was made. So what is reciprocal cross? Suppose from A parent, if we are taking the egg, and from B parent, if we are taking the sperm, then reciprocal cross means instead of egg, we have to obtain the sperm of A, and instead of sperm, we have to obtain the egg of B, and the crossing is favored. So in this crossing, the characters were found to be disappeared. So although the genetic setup is same, the fusion is carried out, zygote is formed, zygote is showing combination of both of these parent, but still why there is a difference between the offsprings which are obtained from reciprocal process. So later on, the concept of cytoplasmic inheritance was there. So instead of having the nuclear genes which are responsible for governing the character, the cytoplasmic genes were also found to be responsible. So for example, in case of animal, mitochondrial genes, In case of plants, mitochondrial as well as chloroplast genes were found to be responsible. And these genes are reported to be present in the mitochondria and chloroplast as their respective genomes. And hence the era of cytoplasmic inheritance was began. So this is known as material effect. So it is not born by the nuclear genes, but it is born by the cytoplasm. So naturally, where there is a more quantity of cytoplasm, the dominance of that character from that particular parent that was observed. So this is known as cytoplasmic inheritance. So such discoveries were made later on. So that is known as material effect. Then afterwards, the understanding of the genetic units, hereditary units that was there, and people have started that particular work, because if a particular characters are altered with this all observation, firstly the characters were reported from the population frequency. Later on the specific you can say the observation of the individual, these characters were reported, and later on the characters were further reported from the dissection of that organism and individual tissues and cells. And later on that kind of characters, when people have started thinking about that, then such type of experiments were carried out. So if the characters are transmitted from one generation to another through the gametes, then there must be something within the cell which is responsible for the transfer of this character. So nuclei were identified, cytoplasm was identified, but within nucleus what? Within cytoplasm what? So people have started the discovery for trying to obtain what exactly the chemical nature of the gene. So in this connection, people have started experimentation, and here we can see the Frederick Griffith experiment, who conducted the test on the mice and injected the smooth uh, bacterial cell, bacterium species Streptococcus pneumoniae, that was causing pneumonia. So such species was used, and these species were injected to the mouse system, and it was observed that when rub strains were injected, then after injection, after some time, the mouse was still alive. The smooth strain was injected. This was the indication of virulent strain. The mouse was killed. Then heat killed smooth strain was injected into the mouse, where there is a disinfection of this smooth strain which was virulent. So that virulent strain was become non-virulent, and hence mouse was alive. But after injection of this combination of smooth and rough strain, the virulence was observed, and virulence was developed within the rough and smooth strain. And smooth strain, they have transmitted the characters to the rough strain, and hence the inheritance was observed in this fashion. So here with this combination, there was death of the mouse, and from that it was confirmed that although the heat killed bacterial strain of smooth type that was there, but the genetic material that was still retained within that, and that genetic material have found the way for alternative host, and they uh, found that host in the form of rough strain, and here their genetic material could survive. And when they found all the favorable material, then their expression was begun, and due to that expression, the rat or mouse was killed. So such experiment was done by Griffith in 1928, and the beginning of this genetic material discovery was started. Then later on, Avery, MacLeod, and MacLean, McCarthy, these people, they have done the same type of experiments, and actual, you can say, transforming principle that was discovered, and that principle was called as DNA later on. In 1952, Hershey and Chase have done the experiment related with the bacteriophage by using the radio-labeled isotopes. So what he had done, the phosphorus isotope he has taken for the radio labeling of DNA, and sulfur isotope, that is sulfur 35, was taken for the uh, proteins, and proteins were labeled. So here the DNA was labeled, and such encapsulated bacteriophage that was allowed to infect to the bacterial cell. Now after the infection, it shaded its DNA. In both the cases, the shading of the DNA takes place, and after some times, the DNA and the protein coat, they were separated. They later on come to conclusion that the radioactive nature was shown by the lower layer of the centrifuge tube sedimentation instead of supernatant, and hence this DNA is said to be uh, injected within the bacteria uh, by this virus particle, and then this was confirmed as the material, because in this case, in sulfur labeled proteins, the sulfur labeling was reported only in case of supernatant, and this DNA which was settled, that was not having traces of any radioactive sulfur. So with this comparative observation, this was the unit which was injected by the bacteriophage into the bacterial cell. So that's why this unit was not the protein. However, this was the DNA. So DNA is a genetic material was proved by this Hershey and Chase in 1952. And later on, there was a discovery of Watson and Crick's model. If DNA is a genetic material, then what should be its structure? So these two fellows, Watson and Crick, they try to formulate. They went for several observation up to the X-ray diffraction, and we know that X-ray diffraction is a technique where we can see the molecules also, molecular organization also, and it is so many fold powerful than that of the electron microscope. If we try to see the DNA thread, the electron microscope will show us only a thread-like structure, but its organization is possible to see with the X-ray crystallography, and with this technique, such type of structure was formulated by Watson and Crick, and double helical structure was developed. So double helical structure was having two strands, and these strands were connected with each other, where there are the locations of the complementary nitrogenous bases. So adenine was joined with the thymine, and guanine was joined with the cytosine by formation of 2 and 3 hydrogen bonds in between. And the backbone of the DNA was formulated as the phosphodiester linkages. So here phosphate and sugar, they are alternatively arranged, and that forms the backbone of the DNA. So such structure was developed later on, and that is known as the double helical structure, and that was proposed by Watson and Crick. Of course, the contribution of Rosalind Franklin, that is also taken into consideration for the X-ray crystallography, and hence this was later on worldwide accepted structure of the DNA, which is a genetic material. And the prediction of earlier scientists which were trying to find out the chemical nature of the genes, later on it was confirmed because of this particular structure. And once it was confirmed, then there was starting of the new era even in the genetics. So this new era we can find in terms of recombinant DNA technology. So in recombinant DNA technology, the plasmid we have to obtain from the bacteria. The plasmid is acting here as a carrier. So with this carrier, we can join the gene of interest from certain foreign material, and plasmid will be joining with the gene, foreign gene. Then this is known as recombinant DNA. So such recombinant DNA, after injecting into the bacteria, it will be multiplied, and if it is multiplied, then it has several applications. So as per the requirement, we can amplify the protein, we can amplify the genes. If we amplify the protein, then the proteins will be used for the scientific research. Proteins will be used for the development of the medicines and pharmacological industrial development. Proteins will be used for the controlling the pest uh, on the plants, and hence pesticides and insecticides that will be developed. The proteins will be used for the destruction of these contaminants. So that is possible when we inject those proteins into the bacteria, and bacteria will destroy the contaminants such as oil. While amplified genes, they are having their own significance. So for scientific research, of course, it will be useful. Then for medicine and pharmacological industry, it will be also very much useful in order to design the new combination. Then high temperature forming snow, that is also one of the field in which the amplified gene is taken into consideration. And for developing the food, in case of food industry, that is also applicable. So such type of recombinant DNA technology that is developed, and now we are in the genetically modified organisms. Now we are also able to synthesize the chemical gene structure. We can synthesize by using chemical. So that is known as chemical synthesis of genes. So if you want to have the primers, we can design primers, and the industry will be selling the primer per nucleotide. There are charges. So such everything is now comfortable in order to have the gene as a material. And if this material, if we have, we can do wonders later on. So this is the you can say overall journey of say post Mendelian era of genetics. Due to the discovery of Mendelian principle, how the remarkable discoveries were possible, and how that journey was completed. Instead of completed, we can call it as a continuation of the journey. And let us see what happens in the future. So there are so many technologies with that biotechnology also competing, and it is interesting to see the future. So with this, I am coming to an end to my lecture. So I thank the organizer for giving me an opportunity to interact with this with you people, and it is my great privilege to speak on the birthday of our father of genetics, Gregor John Mendel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Ade sir, for your nice lecture. May I have the couple of questions from the audience?
Yes.
If anyone have the questions, drop your question in chat box so that I can unmute from here and you can raise your doubts. Question from the participants.
Yeah, in chat box. There are several questions.
Sir, Atharva Datar has raised the question. Sir, is pleiotropy a cause for various syndromes? Is pleiotropy a cause for various syndromes?
Yeah, that is also possible, but we have to critically go for the metabolic expression of that gene.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Participants, if you have any question, please drop your question in the chat box.
Can you send me the entire question list in the chat box so that I will reply accordingly in writing?
Yes, sir, sure. But still, there is no any questions in the chat box.
One question is there rDNA technology. With the help of rDNA technology, now we can transfer any gene to different organism, but we are unable to transfer gene into human body to correct a damaged gene. Yes, we can transfer. That is known as gene therapy, but that is to be transferred right from the embryonal stage. This is Sumalata's question, and there is no any question again.
Yes, sir, there is no any question.
Hmm.
Now I invite my BSc student, Ganesh Kiste. Now, Chetan sir, please unmute Ganesh Kiste for the vote of thanks.
तुमचं नाव दिसत नाही. गणेश किस्ते आहे का काय?
That GK Mimicry.
हा. Yes.
Ganesh, please propose vote of thanks. Hello Ganesh, can you hear us?
गणेश सर तुमचं हे अनम्यूट करा सर तुम्ही स्वतःला.
गणेश अनम्यूट कर तुझ्या साइड कडून. Okay, there may be technical error. I will propose a vote of thanks. Once again, good afternoon all. Today on the occasion of birth anniversary of great scientist Gregor John Mendel, the Department of Botany, we organize this academic endeavor for the students as well as teachers also. For this endeavor, Dr. A.B. Adesar from Department of Botany, Savitribai Phule, Pune University, Pune, has joined with us. Sir has enlightened us with a pre-Mendelian, Mendelian and post-Mendelian genetics. Dr. Adesar has delivered a lecture in a very nice and lucid language with the help of relevant PPT that has cleared every concept of our mind. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us. I am also thankful to the students, teachers, and academicians who joined with us during this academic activity. Thank you one and all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
For accepting our invitation.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you very much. Chetan sir, please end the meeting.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you, sir.